Hi there, and welcome to part two of my conversation with Abby Robertson. Today, we'll be talking about what it was like for her to bring home her two girls and for them to begin their life together as a new family. It really is a beautiful story. God's in the details. I hope you enjoy it. I'm just really struck by you pick up Grace and Abigail, and they don't speak English.
Mommy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Abby, for real.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
know.
I think of it as they're the ones that had to be the most scared and do the most
Oh,
work,
100%. Yes. So
Gosh.
what did that process look like? I mean,
Yeah.
well, maybe we're skipping ahead, but I'm just so curious.
Well, during the year, I have to tell you a couple more God things of during the
Yes.
year that
Okay.
I was waiting for them. It got pretty crazy there. They had some evacuation routines that they did with the kids. If the rebels came to the house, then the kids knew where
Okay.
to run through the forest. And so it was scary. It was in
Of
November
course.
of
Very.
16. Yeah. I'd been waiting. I'd met them. It'd been about 6 months since I met them. So now, in your heart, you are their mom. So
Hmm.
you're nervous
Hmm.
about everything that's going on with them.
Yeah.
And there's no postal service there, so we weren't communicating.
Okay.
There's no internet at the
Okay.
orphanage, so I could communicate with Samuel if he was in the capital city, but not
Okay.
otherwise. So anyway, so it was super stressful in November, and then Carter in Marshalltown calls me and he says, "Hey, the family that built that orphanage back in the day that were missionaries there, that built this big brick house, and they were Baptist missionaries." And I said,
Okay.
"Yeah." And he said, "Well, the granddaughter has contacted me. She saw me on Facebook, saw the house, and said, 'That's my grandma's house.'" Yes. No, it gets weirder.
Okay.
So she's now in her late 60s. There are about four generations of this Rosenau was their last name family. So she's in her late 60s and she contacts Carter. And so I'm going to go do a reading of this book that her grandmother wrote. And so Carter and I are going to do this to raise money for the orphanage at this church
Okay.
in Marshalltown. And he goes, "She's
Hmm.
going to meet us there." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, she lives in Rhinebeck." And I was like, "That is my hometown of 1,200 people."
Oh, oh my gosh.
And so it
Abby,
was
that's
like,
so crazy.
I know. I mean,
God's
it's
hilarious, really.
it's
Hmm.
like crazy.
It
And
is.
it was so wild, but it was what I needed. So then I just
Yes.
calmed down. I'm like,
Yes.
"Okay, yeah, thank you."
Yes.
So then that
Yeah.
was really good. And then so we got through that, and then we get around to spring and we're getting ready to go. And their country, again, was still pretty volatile. Then it's gotten a little bit better in the last 2 years,
Okay.
not so stressful. Um, but there is no full U.S. embassy there. So we had to
Okay.
fly, we, as in the Ames family and myself, had to fly these four children, the power of attorney, the African man that was helping us, and then this mama to take care of them, to Cameroon, a neighboring country. So
Okay.
we flew them there because that's where we could get a U.S. embassy that would distribute visas to get to the United
Okay.
States. So we had a false start. He jumped the gun, flew everybody there. We flew everybody there. Anybody
Yes.
that's been through adoption understands what I'm talking about with the budgeting and everything.
Yeah.
And then they had to fly him back. So they said goodbye to everybody at the orphanage and then had to leave and then had to fly him back.
Oh.
And then we were like, oh. And so, but it was, I mean, everything worked out, of course, as God always does, as it should be. We ended up getting everything taken care of, went back to go get them. And the day before I flew out, for the first time, I probably had a breakdown. And I've talked to other parents that want to adopt or people that they're not parents yet and they want to adopt, they're not sure. And
Sure.
my question to them is, have you given it up to God? Have you truly given it up? Have you thrown up your arms and been like, I cannot do this. Like, it is in your hands.
Yeah.
Because that was my moment for that. Up until then, I still
Mm.
felt in control. I'm type A. I'm getting this. I'm getting my
Yeah.
paperwork done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at that moment, it was the day before I was to fly out. My visas were done incorrectly. My power of attorney had informed me, so I had no way of getting them to the United States unless they were corrected. So I had to go to the U.S. Embassy while I was there, which was scary to me. So I was pretty panicked, threw up my arms. I remember where I was in my bedroom when I did it, and I just said, "It's on you. I can't do this
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Like, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
just know you're gonna do
Yeah.
it."
Yeah.
And then I have this woman contact me on Facebook, saw my story, grew up in the country, is about my age, grew up in the country, literally in the house next door to the orphanage because her parents were Baptist missionaries too. So
Gosh.
from the time she was a baby until her
Yeah.
20, she grew up there. She knew African people. She knew the language of Sango, all of that. Like it was just shocking because she lives in Ankeny. I
Unbelievable.
was like, what?
Unbelievable.
Her husband she's from North Carolina. Her husband had
Okay.
moved here for a job years ago. And so now they're in Ankeny. And so I get the girls here and we have to do these medical appointments. They don't speak English. They don't, they've never seen so many white people in their life.
Of course, it's terrifying. Yeah.
Yes, everything
Yes.
was. And she came to that appointment with me. It was the first time I met her, and she talked them through it quietly, in Sango in their language. And she has her education degree, homeschools her 2 kids, and has been their tutor since.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, total God thing. And even with getting to Cameroon, there was a power outage once we flew in. Everything was on generators, and then the kids had lice, and we had to go through all of that and get that all taken care of. But I look back, I'm like, oh, we had the lice thing because then I wasn't worried about going to the embassy because I was worried about that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
everything is like in the moment I'm like, ah, and it's like, oh, that's funny. Hindsight. Yeah. So it was amazing once we got there. I had not seen these children in it'd be a little over a year. We spoke once on Christmas, and so I'm thinking, this kid's gonna even remember who I am or anything like that. And it's one of the few hugs I've gotten from my older one, who's not a hugger. And they ran out. We got in late, but they were kind of, not falling asleep waiting. And and the littles, the 2 littles that were going to Ames, they went right to their parents. I hadn't been able to get close to them. They had touched fingers with them. That's the closest we got the year prior. So the crazy part with that is I think they were so relieved and happy to see us because they had already said their goodbyes to the power of attorney and the mom because they had mixed up schedules and had left before we got there. So again, that was like a drama point that worked out for the best.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
drama, but always for the best. We should know by now, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So true.
Yeah.
So I just love all of the things that you were worried about. God just showed up and took care of them. Now, like you said, the way he took care of your nerves about the embassy was you had to worry about the girl's lice, like that is not how you would have chosen to deal with that problem, but it was a very effective solution, right? I mean, that's just amazing. That's just amazing.
He probably had other plans, but I wasn't paying attention, so he had to get dramatic.
Lice, right? Well, either way, right? So how long have you had the girls?
They've been here, it's a little over 2.5 years. So it was Labor Day weekend. So we're creeping up on 3 years now.
Okay.
My family was amazing. They were my family from the moment they arrived. Everybody's at the airport. My best friend had her kids there.
Yeah.
Who they thought also were going to be cousins.
Right. Yeah.
And it just, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, it's why I knew it was right. It's not been easy. It's perspective, right? Because they're amazing kids. So the part that was so hard was the English, for one thing. The fact that everything was new and it was hard to explain because I didn't have English, or I had English, they didn't.
Right.
But, we used to go to Jennifer and Ankeny, their tutor that I was talking about that grew up in their country, and I'd have this long list on my phone. When I say this, can you tell them it means this? Like, when they do this, what does that mean? And I mean, even stuff like there was a woman from their country that lives in Washington, D.C., that we kept in touch with because she spoke African Sango. They say that Jennifer speaks American Sango.
Okay, sure, of course.
So we got a hold of this. Yeah, Julie Madbondo is her name in DC area, and she would talk, and she said to me, "They're probably going to think it's weird that you're single, that you don't have a husband, because in their country, that's what you do. You get married young, and you have lots of kids. That's
right."
So even working through some of those things that you would never even think were a big deal, or I've learned from that family too, about different things, cultural things like skin color and how that affects your fears in the world and how you're treated. And so all of that, you do some training in advance of what do they call it? Being a conspicuous family. You're no longer conspicuous. You're really quite obvious.
Right.
But you do that online, but until it's like real, you know, it's harder. And, you know, there is privilege in me being able to, you know, navigate for them and all of that. So it makes me very aware of people in our community that don't have a me. That are just here as they are. Yeah. So again, that's opened my eyes and my world to all of those things with them. But they've worked really hard to become Americanized, so to speak. But now it's about honoring the Africa side of them. So they do have siblings that are older. So the siblings, again, I didn't really have that full big picture. When I was at the orphanage, when I met them, I met their sister Alita, but I didn't even know that that was her sister until the morning I left. No one told me.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yep. So I have pictures with her and with my sister with her. And so as we kind of evolved, we got phone numbers for Atawali and Atakoli are grandma and grandpa. So there's an Atawali there. And we've gotten that phone number. We've communicated their siblings with all this COVID stuff that's going on.
Sure.
Their siblings, there's one in Bangui, the capital city, and he's on Facebook. He's about 19, 20. So he's the closest in age to them. And so he was contacting me, and I just do French to English Google Translate.
Okay.
They were almost every day because they were seeing the cases in the United States and their perspective of the United States.
Yes, sure.
They were really concerned that the girls were okay.
Sure.
So kind of interesting stuff. But they did have a family member, an uncle, and a kind of a grandma that went to the courts and spoke for them and said, yes, we will. You know, yes, we're saying yes to this adoption. And their parents had passed away from illness.
I see.
Their father and two mothers, two separate mothers. But so they had all passed from illness, so that I think made the process a bit easier too, because there was no question.
Right.
They know their story. You know, a lot of people said to me, "Did you name them, or did you?" Oh, I'm like, well, when you're that age, 10 and 13.
No, of course, right.
You know,
of course,
keep your name, you know,
of course.
And age too. But when that was another thing that we did once they got here, you can choose to, through the U.S. court systems, Iowa court systems, go through that process with a lawyer. I met a wonderful guy here at a backyard party of one of Grace's friends' families from school. He helped me through all of that, which was wonderful. And at that time, I said, do you want your name to be, you know, Robertson, or do you want to have Agina in it, which is their original last name? And they both wanted their original first, middle, and then they wanted Robertson and not Agina. So who knows, you know, maybe when they get older, that'll change. But for the time, that was what they wanted. And and all of that. But
yeah. So how would you say, and I'm going to skip over a lot of time because, you know, just for clarity and all of that.
I know I'm jumping all over, so sorry.
No, you're great. How would you say that now, being here almost 3 years, being better at the language, although I'm sure there's still times where they have, you know, are asking you what things mean.
Or getting mad at me for explaining when they already know.
And I have a feeling part of that teenage stuff is maybe they don't know, but they still want to tell you they know. I'm just guessing because that's where I am. But how have you seen the girls find themselves and step into their new, I don't know, I hope it's okay to say new life, but it is a new life for them. They haven't been here for as long as they experienced the orphanage. And so what have you seen? How have you seen them blossom? What have you seen God doing in their life?
I think they're just, first of all, as any kids are, they're opposites. So my older one spent a lot of time that first year and a half grieving the loss of her old life.
Of course.
So there was a lot of grief in that would come out in other ways that had nothing to do with that. But I could always kind of trace that back and know that that's where that was coming from.
Right.
So she is way more confident and 16. So she's, she's an old soul. She's wanting to start a business. She's wanting a summer job. She's taken driving classes. So she said the other day, I never, ever dreamed I would ever have a car. Like that's, so foreign to them. She doesn't have one yet. She's driving one.
Oh, but even to have a car in the family, probably. And
yes. Yeah. And so she has taken, when she was going through that hurt deep inside, she kind of came into her own with crochet. So she had learned to do that in Africa, didn't have the yarn, but she had learned how to do it, and it was her escape. Yeah. So she would do it to escape. She'd make scarves and hats, and then she just started developing it into like a business, and she had money for the first time in her life. And so then we created business cards, and we did all these things. And then she decided, you know what, I want to be a fashion designer. So she's found her groove in the fact that, but they also, as we talked about with teens, I say to them all the time, you could do anything you want, right? Like the story up here, the prayers of God are gonna, you can do anything you want. And I'm like, I know, you want but I think, that's given her that, I think this is what she's super creative. She's found her own in that way. She's an old soul. She used the pain, and in my opinion, she used the pain and everything to create something out of it. Yeah. And she had a very different experience. She was only in the orphanage for 2 years. My younger one was there since she was 4.
Okay. So sure. So Grace kind of had that experience of a first family in a way, right? And then went to, that is an awful lot to grieve in 15, 16 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And she'll talk about, I used to have to wake up and when it was still dark and make rice and onion and sell it to people to make money. And so she's very mature and old soul in that area. And then my younger one has been the one that's been open to, I call her my negotiator, and she's open to anything. So the food was a thing for her. I'd say, okay, we can have a cookie after lunch. And she'd be like, 2. So from the very beginning, it was like a negotiation on everything, and very much, I talked to her a lot about how her story someday is going to be important to her. Right now, she wants to be like everybody else.
Sure.
So that's what we're going to work on, as we go with her.
At 13, right? She's 13.
Going to be 13 this summer. Yep. Yeah. Sure. So she's kind of in that mix, but she's up for anything. She'll try anything. Whereas my older one, I call her my slow start. She knows that. Okay. She's kind of, and then try it and it's okay. But Ab will be up for anything. Yeah. And then Ab got reading in English really quick. Younger. Yeah. So I think that gave her some confidence in school. The younger one. Yep. Right. So she kind of has, she wants to be older, and we talked about that a lot because she's the older one. So I think for her, what she's found and what we started a little business for her was pet sitting. So she wanted a business too. So, but she loves animals, and then we got a cat, and she's the mom of the cat. Okay, I love it. The role she's got right now is she's the mom of this cat, Sammy, and they go up to bed at the same time. He slept in her top bunk for the whole last year until we got rid of the bunk beds. Okay. And they go together and whine, and she'd be like, "We're going," like a baby. So her just, it's been harder to find an identity for her. Yeah, and she's got things that she doesn't know is there. She's got, of course, doesn't know in here. So her, a lot of times we'll talk about, if you don't get the hurt out, it turns to mad, and we don't want it. Sure. Because that. Yeah. So, but she's lucky, in school and all of that. She's doing amazing. She tried soccer and didn't know anybody on the team, and they never once won a game. And she went through three seasons of that. So it's kind of, she's for anything but she misses having kids around. She had always kids around, and we don't have them around here in our house. So
sure. Well, and lately not being able to go to school and do all of that, that's another weird thing. If you at this point were to, give just a little bit of advice to you at 30,
right?
Because Abby, there's a couple of reasons I want to talk to you, because just so many things, like you knew so many people get afraid of their circumstances and let their circumstances be limiting and let their circumstances tell them how they have to be in the world. And I just, I mean, you just said, no, I don't accept that. I don't accept that I have to have a relationship that looks the way you had to let go of a dream to be able to get to that. Because I know that's how you wanted it to look.
Yes.
Right? You wanted it to look the way it looks for everyone else.
Yeah. How I grew up. That's how I thought it would look. And it was
Yes.
shocking to me when that just kept not happening.
Yes. Yes. And so one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because I wanted you to just be able to share your story of this is what it looked like to give up that dream. And I know that you would say now you wouldn't change any of it for anything.
Yeah. Right.
But probably when you were 30, you didn't expect that to be the answer.
No, I didn't. And I think, on some of the things in my life, I'm in real estate because I got laid off and that craziness of like 08, 9, 10, all of that, which was like, oh my gosh, I'm a statistic. Real estate was the hard thing to do. And it ended up being an amazing career for me. Same thing. If I look back on some of the things in my life, if I just remember to like open up to it's faith-based, not fear-based decisions.
Yes.
It was scary going into real estate because you don't make any money unless you sell a house and you got to spend the years doing that.
Yeah.
It was scary going to Africa because I didn't know what I didn't know. And it's a, pretty violent place where I was going. But I think if I just keep remembering that the fears, if it's just a fear-based decision, it's not going to be the right one.
Right.
And I think
not right. None of us makes a good choice when we're afraid.
I dated people for years, different people, and it just never felt right. And I didn't want to get married out of the fear that I wouldn't meet the right person. So it was one of the, I had several, longer term relationships. And I just knew they weren't the ones. Like and to, marry someone out of the fear that you may never meet somebody or that you may not get married, it just was never the right decision for me. So I've never been married.
And it happens. Trust me. I talk to a lot of women and it happens.
You get scared. You have to be what everybody else is. And, not only Mother's Day, but, everything. You go to dinner and if you're by yourself, there's always one seat off. It drives me nuts in family stuff. I mean, it doesn't for me now because I pushing, but there's stuff like that. And it's a reminder to you always, you go to a wedding, same thing. You're the one. There's not a two with anything. Like it's just, and same thing with kids, people, at one point my mom said to me, I lived a lot of places. I'd find these amazing jobs. I'd want to work there. So I'd go move there and I'd get the job,
Sure.
Well, sometimes it'd take a year, but and my mom said one time, like, what are you looking for? And I was like, I don't know. And I always in my head, I was like, if all of these friends of mine are posting about their amazing kids all the time, I'm going to have an amazing life. Like I'm going to go after what I want and create amazing things and not waste this time thinking that I should be sitting and doing what they're doing. So I really, but it's not comfortable. It's not easy. And there's times when you're upset about it or you're sad or you're, but I think if you want to be a mom, I'm speaking to the moms out there. I mean, I'm a single mom of 2. Like if you want to be a mom, you can do it. It's just, it's not going to look like it would normally, but the more people you meet, the more people that you meet, the more you understand that nobody has a normal anything.
No.
Like, oh my goodness. And the number of people that I've met that have connections to adoption is huge. I mean, it's not even surprising to me anymore because I meet so many people that have been tested, have had it, have,
Right.
Kind of and I think that everybody here in West Des Moines at Hope with my family, everybody has championed my girls. Like they've, they don't see it as like something that, there she goes, something that.
She didn't want to say hi though, I see.
She's got a fever in the iPad was so I think that, just, I guess my message, if there is a message to give is, you can find it. There is no normal. And yes, I'm relieved on the other side of wanting all that.
Yes.
And it is amazing. Like It was so funny. I was just talking to Carter last night, this guy in Marshalltown, because I'm on the board. So we talk about everything that goes on. And I was talking about how fortunate I am that I've been able to pour everything into my two daughters. I'm like, I don't have a husband to worry about. He goes, I wonder if my wife thinks of me that way. I was like, oh, I don't want Francis to call you. Don't tell her I said anything. But I think that's one of those things. It's all perspective. Like, I can be upset that I have to do it all, or I could say, you know what, I can parent the way I want, and I can message the way I want, and I can, you know, make faith so important to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it already was, and I'm not worried about someone else not having that same importance of faith or whatever it may be. So
yeah,
perspective. I think it's perspective. That's what I'm speaking to right now. Because, you know, there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I've got so much on my plate. But then I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could find myself someone to compare myself to who's going to have a lot worse off than I am. So.
Sure. Well, and and you just kind of learn to live in the space that your challenges are your challenges, and other people have their own challenges. And so
you said something to that, you know, spoke to that a little bit in your sermon, I think, too.
Yeah, I did say something. My problems probably seem whiny and insignificant, but they're still my problems, and I still need Jesus to care about them. Yeah, for sure. So,
and that's going to be true no matter what. You know, one of the things I was talking to Carter about last night is that he wants a mama, they call him at the orphanage, that's going to be nurturing to the kids.
Yeah.
Because we just can't seem to find it over there. And I said, what? I don't think that's in their culture, because I don't think it's a luxury they have. I think they are just so focused on keeping their children alive, keeping themselves alive, trying to get food, trying to stay safe, that nurturing, I never thought about it, but that it's a luxury we have that we didn't even realize. We just didn't even know.
Right. So true.
Yeah, in everything I've seen. So again, perspective of, wow, I'm so lucky that I get to parent this way and nurture and help them dream and all that. Because lots of parents around the world don't even have that.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, Abby, you have a beautiful family, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. And if people have any questions, I don't know, is there a way, are you on Facebook? Could they find you on Facebook if they wanted to, or what would you say about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook. I'm kind of everywhere because of my career, but any way you come to me is fine. I'm always going to be an advocate, especially, you know, for older kids, because I feel like that's a missed group. And I can't imagine if I would have passed over my girls because of an age thing. Like they're amazing. And you know who they are. They're already little humans, like that can communicate with you, and like, you know, they're like sometimes everyone wants the babies, but I'm an advocate for all of it. And I'll talk to anybody anytime, because I know how it feels to be single. I know how it feels to be a single mom or be an adopted mom and all of that. Like, I get it.
Right.
I get it. And there's a big group of people out there that fall in some of those categories. And there's hope in all of it.
Amen to that. Yep. Amen to that. Yep.
Thanks for letting me talk about it. I just hope, you know, the moments in my life where I felt really down about things, like, I just hope that I can reach people that way. So thanks for giving me a platform to do that.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us for our conversation today with Abbey Robertson. Don't forget to check back on Monday, where we will drop a new video in our summer conversation series. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for joining today. You are an amazing woman. Make it a great day.